Today on Splat in the quest for the elevator of answers.
Alright, boss. This time we're ready for them.
Excellent. You remember the plan, you knucklehead?
Yes, boss. We're simply going to convince them that their Bible is full of mistakes and confuse them that way.
Excellent. If we can convince the Christians that their Bible is just an old book, that it is full of mistakes, then everything they believe won't count for anything. It'll be like kicking the legs out from under a baby.
If we're going to tackle any topic here, it's important to establish some ruler of truth to measure everything up against. If we don't agree on a basic line of truth, then we can argue about everything forever. We here at Splat have decided to use the Bible as our ruler of truth. But can we trust the Bible? That is such an important question, so let's tackle it. Whenever anyone deals with the accuracy of an old book, you have to put it up against three tests. How many manuscripts have been found? How close are they to the date of the writings? How accurate are they?
Round 1.
How many manuscripts have been found? Here's the problem. There's no originals of anything from way back in the day. People had to copy it hand by hand. And there's a problem. A lot of people believe mistakes have crept in every time someone wrote it down. So we have to ask ourselves, how good are the copies? One way to answer that question is how many ancient manuscripts do we have? The more copies we have, the more accurate the texts are, simply because we can compare each copy to see how they match up. Let's talk about the Gallic Wars. They were a series of military campaigns waged by the Roman proconsul Julius Caesar against several... The Gallic Wars were a book written by Julius Caesar about wars that happened. They were written in 50 BC. We don't have the original one that Julius Caesar wrote, so how many copies do we actually have? The answer? 10. The scientific community nowadays accepts 10 copies as an acceptable number to prove the accuracy of any book. Most books are in that same ballpark, ranging from 10 to 20. Not very many go over 100. Very few, actually. You could count them on one hand. How many copies of the New Testament have been found? Not 10, not 20. 24,633 copies of the New Testament have been found.
Round 2. How close are the manuscripts to the date of the writing?
Why is this such a big deal? If some event, like the New Testament, is recorded long after it occurred, it's not written by eyewitnesses, and it's not likely to have been written when other eyewitnesses were around to either confirm or dispute its accuracy. Let's go back to good old Jules' book. He wrote the original book in 50 BC. We don't have the original. What is the earliest copy that we have? We have one that was written in 900 AD. That is 950 years after the original. Scientists are not arguing about good old Jules' book. So obviously 950 years is an acceptable amount of time. We're going to look at two pieces of evidence inside the Bible to see when it was written. Number 1, the book of Acts is known to be written by Luke. It ends with Paul still in prison. He's awaiting trial to see Nero. One explanation is that Luke wrote Acts during this time when Paul finally appeared before Nero. That would be about 62 to 63 AD, meaning that Acts and Luke were written within 30 years of the ministry and death of Jesus. 30 years! Let's do one more. In 70 AD, the Romans destroyed the temple in Jerusalem. Jesus himself said this was actually going to happen, but not one book in the entire Bible talks about it happening. If the people who wrote the Bible are trying to prove that Jesus was who he said he was, don't you think they'd mention that he said it was going to happen, and it did? Therefore, the New Testament had to have been written before 70 AD, which puts the Bible within 50 years of the time when Jesus died. 50 years is enough time for anybody living when Jesus walked the earth to correct any mistakes. Scientists accept 950 years. Isn't 50 years a little better?
Round 3. Is it accurate?
This is obviously a super important question, and this is where archaeology can be super helpful in determining if we can actually trust the New Testament. If archaeologists can prove the New Testament is filled with mistakes about people or places or things that happened, then we can't trust the New Testament as an accurate record of the life of Jesus in the early church. Not too long ago, some people didn't believe the biblical records because it frequently referred to things not mentioned by any source outside the Bible. But But the cool thing is, discoveries by archaeologists recently have proven the New Testament and silenced the skeptics. Let's talk about one person and one place. Luke 3:1 talks about someone named Lysanias. The only Lysanias known to ancient historians was one who was killed in 36 BC. That's a long time before Luke actually sat down and wrote his book. However, recently we found an inscription near Damascus that speaks of freedmen of Lysanias, the Tetrarch, and it's dated between 14 and 29 AD, which puts it at the time of Luke's writing. John 19:13 talks about a place called the Pavement, or Gabbatha. For centuries, there was no record of a place called the Pavement or Gabbatha. A lot of people said it must be a myth, and they said the Bible was not historical because of this. But William F. Albright in the Archaeology of Palestine shows that the Pavement was a court in the Tower of Antonia, and the court was destroyed in 66 to 78. It was left buried when the city was finally rebuilt, and it only was discovered recently, which proves once again that things that we didn't know about, we just didn't know about because we haven't found them yet. Let's recap. There's 3 tests that you put any old manuscript through when you're trying to figure out if it's accurate or not. The Bible killed the how many manuscripts have been found test. We decimated how close are they to the date of the writings test. And we destroyed how accurate are they tests. And we're continuing to destroy them. The bottom line is, by all scientific measurements, the Bible is an accurate historical document, and it can be taken at face value.